Welcome back to 90 Seconds Plus. And here we are, Nobby. So let's kick it off with, what is it? Have your say. Get out and have your word, or what is it? Submit.
Yeah, so two things, I guess. We'll come back to Trump in a minute, but, just to keep you happy with that red hat. But disappointing, I think, at this stage, the amount of feedback we've had on the annual plan, which includes the rate increase. So I've talked numerous times on the media about the need for our public to get on and say whether they're happy with 9.5/10.5 or they want something 4 or below. And I think we've had about 240 submissions, I think. Well, that's 1% of the ratepayer base, or a little bit over that, less than 2% anyway. If the rest sit there and just think, well, whatever, then don't come complaining. That website's really easy to get into, letstalk.icc.govt.nz. You get onto that, it takes you 4 or 5 minutes just to answer the questions, back end of the page. Get the first question one and just type in there, I can't afford 9.5%. You need to get it low. I've been out and talked to people like Age Concern yesterday, which was really interesting. There are people that are quite vulnerable to surges in costs. They're
fixed income.
Yeah, they're worried about that. And we've got too many of those at the moment, so you definitely need to do something about that. But I see your mate Trump's been getting in and knocking the things around. People are, and I'm a sceptic as well about how he formulates and who he's got on his top team. It's a bit of a worry.
Things done a bit like this.
A bit of a worry.
That's the presidency.
Bit of a worry. I'd love to be able to have the executive pen and be able to just say, get this done, get that done.
Wouldn't it be good?
It'd be bloody brilliant. But, when he's knocking back the tariffs on some of the bigger countries, I think there might be opportunities for New Zealand there. I really do. I think if the beef producers in North America are exporting to China and Vietnam and some of those other Southeast Asian countries, I think that they'll put tariffs on that as a reaction. China's already talked about it.
Source it elsewhere like us, hopefully.
So then they'll be looking for another source. And I think that could be okay for us. Our 10% is not going to cripple our country, I don't think.
Thanks for that, International. We've covered the world news. Now back to local stuff. Data Grid announced this week that they're certainly getting closer and closer to pushing the go button. So you obviously know a bit more about that, so fill us in there.
They've been around for several years now, and I sort of always thought, a little bit like the green hydrogen, it's never seemed to get started. But I've had a meeting last week with their founder and chief executive and a couple of their technical people, and they're wanting to get started. They know that the world's changing around data, and that cabling's really important to connect countries, and so they've signed up Chorus as a partner, and they're telling me that they'll get started on the site at Makarewa in about 18 months for construction.
The Data Grid data centre, isn't it?
Yeah, they've bought the land, so that's a done deal. So they've obviously committed to that. They're now talking about getting the consents done for us because they've got to bring the cable ashore at the Reedy Beach, run down the roading system over bridges and all that sort of stuff, and then they'll need consideration around the water that they need for cooling purposes, and a little bit of wastewater they'll have to discharge. So while it's at Makarewa, it'll still come into our system. So it seems as though they'll be up and running 28, 29, which isn't too far off. Big project, about $1 billion. So it's huge. Not all of that in here, but what it hopefully will attract is once they set up and run, is that it will encourage other data connectors to come here as well. They'll get close to the big centre, the big cabling centre, because that's the way they set up. So that could be really good for Makarewa.
Might be able to have our own little mini Silicon Valley.
Well, that's not a silly idea. People tend to go where it's safe. I mean, you can see you can see what's happened recently with earthquakes in Myanmar and Thailand. We haven't been subject to that here. We're a moderate risk from that AF8, one that runs through New Zealand. So that's quite good. We're politically very safe in the south, very conservative. Got good water and supplies and good power supplies. Not as much as we would like. And the cooler weather. They talked about that, about how important it was not to have those data centre sitting in a hot environment. So you don't want to go and put it in Dubai because it's too damn hot.
And then air conditioning units.
So they'll have them here. They'll have the cooling air conditioning here as well. But they've done their homework, so I'm quite pleased that they've come forward now, because I was a little bit sceptical to start with, because it was dependent on power. So they've said they're not going to set up as big as they would like to start with.
Yeah.
They'll set up and then grow. So they've obviously got access to enough power to start that process off, and then they hope for renewable energy to kick in, which I'm presuming would be predominantly wind, I think. But because we don't have any more hydro power coming our way. So, that's really good news for us. I think about 200 jobs to build, and about, he said about 40 jobs to ongoing, so that's good for Makarewa.
Yeah.
Even though it's not in the city, it's still part of the package.
Yeah, well, it's good, I think, having it out that way anyway, really, rather than plonk in town.
Yeah, some people might want to live in and around the Donovan Park area.
Oh, yeah, that's handy enough for Makarewa, isn't it?
Very close to Makarewa, isn't it?
Don't get triggers.
He says tongue-in-cheek, but no, we've had a really good couple of months with conferences and things in town as well. Really good.
It's been a solid 3 months.
Solid.
Everything from
Absolutely
the pipe bands championships to the the marching nationals.
Marching nationals. We've had we recently had the New Zealand Planners Institution in, so there was a big group of them.
And today this weekend we've got the Men's Sheds New Zealand conference at the Calvin. So we've just done a story on that.
You've found a new hospitality retailer coming to town. Got the scoop on that, I see.
Yeah, the big story of the year was Popeyes Chicken are coming to Invercargill. It'll be the first South Island store. It'll be the 10th store in the country by the time it opens mid-year or later this year. And opposite KFC. They're American, Louisiana based, and it's a slightly crispier, a slightly different type of equivalent to KFC, I guess. Yeah. So they'll certainly give KFC a run for their money, being across the road at the old JJ's site. Yeah. But you're getting information out of them was a challenge. I've been on this for months, because I knew I was onto something. But geez, trying to get some information. But we did yesterday. They did respond, and they didn't really want to say much. So I had to push them and go, well, we've got enough to go with this. And then they came back, which was really good. And then, as you see, we've got the story there now. So it's it's pretty good for town.
You'll have to wear a suit and tie and a red hat to the opening.
Hell yeah, I'm going to be there. Bells on. But no, it's good. What is? Yeah, it gives people choice, and I guess it's another, again, more money being spent in their city.
That's one of the issues that I've raised about the rate increases. If it's too high, it takes money out of people's pocket. Yeah. And if it does that, then there will be some hurt. Yeah. But it will create some competition, I guess. Yeah. For KFC and other brands like that. So yeah.
Thanks, Nobby. That's 90 Seconds Plus with Invercargill City Mayor Nobby Clark. Until next week, see you later.